Hey folks, welcome back to World Class Bullshitters. You're probably wondering, where's this week's episode? Well, I have some news for you. Florida was way too much fun, and we forgot to record an episode. Why? Because we got drunk. But what we did do is record a ton of videos. We got all kinds of content coming your way, like the video you're about to listen to right now. Or I should say a podcast, because you watch videos and you listen to audio. But we were out on a balcony, drunk as always, and we started to have a really good in-depth comic book discussion. So that's what this video is going to be about. Note that we recorded this in a very echoey dining room in our condo, so the audio quality is not as great as it could be, but not everything World Class Bullshitters does is going to sound like that, so don't worry. We have a lot to talk about from our trip, which we'll talk about in next week's show. We'll also get into the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, the Justice League trailer, all kinds of shit. So everything you guys are dying for us to talk about is coming this Thursday night on episode 67 of World Class Bullshitters. But this is a placeholder for you guys to enjoy, and as always, make sure you comment down in the comments section below and keep the discussion going on your end. Without any further ado, here we are in Florida. 3, 2, 2, 1. So we were sitting out on the balcony here in Florida, and we were having a really in-depth discussion on Marvel Comics, and so we thought we would stop the discussion and bring it inside and record it for you guys, because I think we're hitting on some really serious points. So we're going to recreate the beginning of this discussion, and then we're going to go from there. So this video doesn't have a set time length. It doesn't really have a set pattern. It's just on superhero movies and comic book culture in general. So if you're looking for a nice in-depth discussion on the current state of comic book entertainment, I think you found the perfect video. So welcome to World Class Bullshitters. We're sitting here around a table in Florida, and one of the good guys, Coach Loudy, came up with a really important question. And we're going to answer it, and we're going to go into more in-depth analysis. So before we get that, I'm your host, Jeff Hicks. With me tonight is the one, the only Dion Green.
Man with the plan, the original tan. What's up, y'all?
Coach Loudy.
Alright guys, you ready to take a knee, you filthy cocksuckers, because we're going to have some fun.
And finally, my oldest friend, and by oldest I mean old in age, Joel Hastings.
I just poked my pants.
Joel, wipe your ass.
Jesus Christ, the bathroom's over there, you fucker.
So the other bullshitters are here, but they are passed out from drinking all day. Now, all of us have been drinking all day, but we're real men, so we don't let that shit affect us. But Loudy, I'm going to let you tell us, or excuse me, I'm going to let you ask us the same question you posed outside on the balcony, and we're going to take it from there. So
sure, absolutely. Let's build off by, I'll give you the guys the build up to what led to my question. I happened to sit down, they're talking about how, Marvel and the Avengers have legitimized, especially like the very first Avengers movie. Jeff was talking about how as soon as he, left the movie, it was like similar to when Martin McFly woke up at the end of the first Back to the Future movie, when, the world had changed, his eyes were open. Jeff was saying he had a similar experience. So with that in mind, my question was, let's fast forward to 2016, 2017. Has the DCEU, with movies like Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, and especially the upcoming Justice League movie, have those movies done anything to tarnish that genre, or anything that Marvel kind of tried to help legitimize?
now, before I answer that, I would just like to jump off the point, since you brought up the original question, or excuse me, the original impetus for this question. We were out talking about the Avengers, and I said how it was a game changer. Now, Dion and Joel and I have always been comic book fans. We're talking, Joel's older than us. He went and saw Superman in theaters. He's seen them all. Now, we grew up with these comic book movies. Hokey or not, we were always there day one. We loved them and supported them. But the Avengers was the one where everybody, I'm talking your mom, your grandma, your sister, that cool girl from class, everyone went and saw that movie. And when you walked out, it felt like an event. Now, before that, you had Spider-Man, you had your X-Men movies, you even had The Dark Knight, but The Dark Knight was so embarrassed of being a superhero film that it disguised itself as a crime drama, and so it's discussed as such, so much to the fact that it actually has turned me off as a comic book fan to even discuss it on this channel. So I just wanted to bring that up, because the three of us have always enjoyed comic book movies, but The Avengers was the one that made us go, holy shit, like, everyone now accepts this. So to answer Loudy's question, Marvel's done a lot of good, but personally, I think DC has done a lot of bad, to the point where it's fractured the superhero or comic book genre. Because there's two fronts. There's the TV and there's the movie front. And then the comic book front, but we're not talking about that right now. Marvel has legitimized the films to a point where it is synonymous with high quality. DC has released 3 critically pandered and divisive films, and I think you went from an age where comic book movies were generally considered awesome to a point where, well, a DC one might be a piece of shit. Dion, what do you think about that?
I for our fans, I agree with you, Jeff, to a point. I think that to answer Loudy's question specifically, yes, they have damaged what Marvel has built. I think they've damaged what all comic book movies have built, specifically not just because of the critical acclaim and the monetary acclaim, but DC specifically damaged it in a way that it proved that you have to have a storied approach to making your movie. So obviously, as a lot of people who listen to our channel know, a lot of people who watch movies know, Justice League was DC's answer to the Marvel movies, in such that they saw that comic book movies made money. Not just to Jeff's point, as it changed how movies were made, and yes, it very much did that. Anyone that says differently is high as fuck, doesn't know what they're talking about. But Avengers proved that comic book movies make fucking money. Even if you take away the Nolan movies, a movie based on a comic book could make you bank. And DC, instead of going off of what the Nolan movies did, instead of going off of what Marvel did, it followed a formula it thought that would work. That's where I think the damage was done. Instead of making a movie, and for those of us that have listened to this channel before know that recognize this analogy, Jeff made it before. You have an artist and you have a kid with a fucking pencil. You have someone that takes their time. They have a canvas. They know it's going to take time. It's going to take a long time, and they paint this picture. And then you come have DC, who have this movie where they're just a kid with a crayon and they're just drawing shit on a piece of paper, and they're not taking their time. They're not creating a universe. Obviously, Marvel had Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk and Thor and Captain America and the Avengers, and they created this universe where DC had this bum rush job of, we'll make a movie and another movie and then another movie, and then we'll make a bunch of money. That's where the damage is done. And in that damage, people who don't read comic books, outside of people like Joel, Jeff, and myself, will have this damaged idea of what a comic book movie is, and they're going to look at DC's movie and say, okay, well, they're not going to be good, as opposed to looking at Avengers, Infinity Wars, Daredevil. That's where I think the damage is done, because Warner Brothers, DC rushed their idea of what the movie should be.
Well, one thing I want to bring up is Marvel's approach has made me put faith in characters that I thought were stupid. Doctor Strange, I had read the comics as a kid, like from the 80s. I didn't care about Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme and all that shit. I thought it was hokey. Marvel has proven themselves every year, well, not every year, but successfully since 2008, every time, to a point where they could put out any movie. Like, their TV is a different beast. We'll get to that later. But like, their movies have consistently impressed me to a point where I'll trust anything they put out. Like, I didn't give a shit about the Guardians of the Galaxy prior to the movie. I thought it was a great movie. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to go see Part 2 opening day. Same with Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, all these characters that I was well aware of because I read comics. But Iron Man and the Avengers and all these other things had like paved the way that now I trust them. DC, the DCEU, as run by Zack Snyder and all these guys, has taken Batman, my second favorite character. I don't even trust Batman anymore. Like that Justice League trailer we saw, which we'll talk about in the upcoming show, I don't trust it. They've ruined Batman. Batman used to be bulletproof. Even Batman and Robin, which sucked dick, at least there were other forms of media with Batman that protected
it was a Batman movie. It was a Batman movie.
And you know things are bad when Jeff is defending Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
and the nipples.
Yeah,
and the nipples.
Well, and even to kind of build off of that, this to build off Jeff's point just now, Larry's question from before. This is my question, kind of to Joel, to get him to give us that, I guess, pre-cinematic universe perspective.
Well, we have that too, because you got to remember, the first big Marvel movie to come out was X-Men.
Right.
Or, excuse me, Blade.
Blade.
I was 10 years old.
Well,
I remember seeing Blade.
I think
awesome movie.
Yes.
Blade is great. No one's ever going to
I
take
even tolerate the other ones that came out later.
Blade 2 is great. Blade 2 gets shit on.
Oh, it does.
It's a
now,
great
Blade
movie.
Trinity.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that movie's not
I
good.
still love Ryan Reynolds to death.
He's a great Hannibal King.
What are you going to do after this? I really don't see you teaching karate at your
Well, they became a fucking green superhero. Has Ryan Reynolds played more separate superheroes than anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of
He's done 2 Marvel and a DC.
yeah.
And he's technically done it 4 times because he played 2 different versions of Deadpool.
Yes.
As well as the Green Lantern.
So
And
who was the other version of Deadpool?
The one in
Wolverine
Wolverine
Origins.
Origins.
Oh, that was
The one
Ryan
guy
Reynolds?
Yeah, he was in that.
sewn up and
yeah.
firing beams on top of the reactor.
Okay,
that was
so
terrible.
again, as the listeners know, I'm not the big comic book guy.
Vlad, let me tell you something. You're perfect because you are the voice of the audience. You have the questions. You are the everyman, and so they need you to speak up.
More
more.
of the Down syndrome
Oh, okay.
edition.
Oh, it's funny because the guy who has erectile dysfunction wants to make fun of me.
God damn.
We're going there. Nobody
going
knows
there.
about that.
This is a world-class bullshitters episode, sir.
Test it.
This is episode
It's been a while.
67.
This is episode 67 right here. But I guess to get back to where we actually enjoy each other's company.
I love you, man.
I love you, bro.
I know we just met, but I love you too.
But for me, getting back to DC's destruction of the genre, for Joel, specifically, my problem, as you listeners know, was with Suicide Squad. I would have lived with Superman, Batman vs Superman.
No.
Suicide Squad had to work.
It
for
broke
me.
you.
It broke me.
Everything
Yes,
Snyder
Jeff knows. We did
has
that. You and me that episode.
That 1 hour special.
Suicide Squad had to be the linchpin.
No, everything Snyder has touched.
Oh, I agree with that now.
Hey, here's the thing.
I'm still gonna beat his ass, by the way, in case anyone's wondering.
To the white meat
I'll
shows.
To the
down.
white meat of his skull.
I will hold his ass down. But
Just his ass.
let's look at this. Up to a certain point in comics, Marvel was the gray. You had there was good guys, there was bad guys, but a lot of stuff landed in the middle. You had Wolverine and Venom becoming popular. DC was the light and the dark, the good, the bad. Something happened and a complete reversal of fortunes. You had the Marvel movies. No matter how bad things were getting, there was always that hope that the heroes were going to pull this through. And you felt good watching this movie, and you were cheering for the good guys. Snyder, DC, everything is dark and gritty, and you come out of there almost suicidal in your aspect of like, this movie makes me want to blow my fucking brains out.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't mind dark and gritty, but I like dark and gritty done right. I mean, look at
It's
fucking
not DC.
Right,
DC had Superman,
but
Wonder Woman,
as
hope, love,
but to kind of build on that, and stop me if I'm wrong. It's a very quick point. Dark and gritty done right is very important.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at Daredevil on
Daredevil,
Netflix.
yes.
Perfect.
but that's
Luke Cage.
and that's that area of Hell's Kitchen is a dark and gritty place. But DC as a universe,
Metropolis is not a dark and
Right.
gritty place. It's the fucking
you
futuristic.
never saw
Yes,
the sun
it's
once
called
in
Metropolis,
any of the
not-
movies with Man of Steel. Where's the sun? We don't know. It's like everything feels like you have to feel like there's no hope with a character that personifies hope in the comics.
And here's the one problem that I'd like to boil it down to. Like, I feel like I can pinpoint where this problem comes from. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a fine movie, and I give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoy it. Respect everybody involved.
Personally, one of my favorites.
But The Dark Knight ruined comic book movies to a degree. Because even Marvel. Look, in the post-Dark Knight world, pre-Avengers, everything was dark, gritty, realistic. You had, it worked for Kick-Ass, but you had the Amazing Spider-Man. Ruined the fucking character. You had other dark, gritty reinterpretations, and DC is still buying into it because, look, The Dark Knight won an Oscar. It made $1 billion, but a lot of people don't realize it came out twice. It came out in July of 2008. It came back around in 2009, a second re-release. No other superhero movie has done that.
What was the re-release?
They usually re-release movies around Oscar season and shit, but it made an additional $100 million.
Oh,
The
okay.
point is though, but The Dark Knight was successful, and it
Kind of like they did with The Revenant.
yeah.
Where it kind of only came out in LA and New York.
Excuse
and
me,
they
I got
released
to
it.
comment.
No,
The Bear was robbed with an Oscar.
That was a great movie. I have the soundtrack.
Fair
Fuck
Lives
you.
Matter. No, all I'm saying is, look, The Dark Knight.
She was shot in cold blood.
The Dark Knight did a lot of good for DC, but DC has been chasing that high ever since 2008, and that
It was a
detrimental.
false success. I think is what you're
because
getting
like even with The Dark Knight Returns or Dark Knight Rises, sorry, I'm thinking of the comic book Dark Knight Returns. Even in The Dark Knight Rises, they tried to mimic that success, and while financially it was almost as successful, you never truly had the same critical and cultural impact. Thankfully, with Marvel, you had the Avengers come out and make more money than everything, and now everything's trying to make the Avengers style of movie. But DC is stuck on trying to replicate The Dark Knight, and you can't replicate The Dark Knight.
Especially when, I feel like a lot of those superheroes rely on, and then this is going to sound kind of childish, but like those very bright colors where you have the Green Lantern being very bright green, you got your Superman, red, blue, everything's very standoutish. Where I think I'm going to kind of disagree with you here because I feel like that Batman, truly should have been represented in that dark, gritty, realistic form because Bruce Wayne has been through some shit. I mean, he lost his parents. Fucking, in the middle of one movie, he loses his lady. I mean, like I said, he's just been through a lot of fucking shit in his life. So to get that dark and gritty representation of Bruce Wayne, I feel like that was more than deserved. I feel like that's the way that Batman should have been portrayed.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I feel like even to take it back to the animated series. I mean, granted, looking back, there was a lot of adult themed stuff that a lot of us kids didn't notice at the time. But I feel like even the cartoon version of
But did we? So. And I asked that tentatively because I think that's what made, going to Joel's point, I think you brought up a very important aspect of comic book movies. So for us as children, and even you were an adult in the 90s, the Batman animated series wasn't very important, not because of its animated accomplishments and quality.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It brought a very adult theme for us as children. And even as you an adult, something that you, recognized as an adult. It dealt with death. It dealt with death. It dealt with failure.
It dealt with all that. You never felt depressed.
Exactly. It was a very Batman.
He's lost.
Yes.
Or this has happened. The Joker has killed a bunch of people, but you felt in the end, as much as bad he's done, the next day will be better.
And it bled into Batman Beyond. It bled into the Justice League cartoon in the early thousands. There was a realistic, to your point, Loudy, sense of loss, but continuance.
Because the DC animated universe was the perfect representation of DC outside of the books. Even
Right.
I'd say it's even better.
Comic books in general, even.
Like, I know a lot of younger people listening to our show, but like you had to be there, or you have to go back and watch it all, and not in like an afternoon binge watch it. You need to live it. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm high and mighty when I say this, but honestly,
I am.
okay, you can be. You can be high and mighty all you want, but you look at to like binge watch like 20 years of content is great, and you maybe remember all the beats, but you gotta live through an era where it's considered like the gold standard. Like the DC animated universe is the gold standard of all comic book animation. Even Marvel, like for as much as Marvel is
even still now when they come out with the DC movies, the
But-
animated movies.
but to be fair,
Teen Titans, Justice League.
But they've neutered that. That's dead. Like
Right.
the DC animated universe that we're going on about doesn't exist anymore. Those are just single solitary adaptations of
But we
previous
are
graphic
getting Young
novels.
Justice season 3.
Well, that's
But
fine.
that's-
even Young
but-
Justice doesn't fit into that.
But again,
universe.
is that made, going back to my point, and it's very difficult to kind of keep it in that one singular mindset, obviously because there's so much going on. Justice League, the Young Justice season 3, is more about the fans of comic books and Young Justice than it is this audience is going to watch Justice League the movie. So for people who don't read comic books like we did, people like Loudy who love movies and want to see a visual representation but aren't familiar with the property, for lack of a better phrase, you want to have all the payoff without the work. You want to be able to live and have the appreciation of the comic books without having to read all of that for years.
And you've had that perfect.
And you've had it with Marvel, the universe.
Even
You
like
have that.
but even pre-MCU, like the first 2 Spider-Man movies,
Yes.
you learned everything you needed about the character Spider-Man: the power, the responsibility, the loss. here's one thing that people never...
And the cost of being a superhero.
Yeah, but here's exactly that's what I'm gonna jump off of. No one ever gives the first movie credit because every other superhero movie, the hero wins. He gets the girl. He rides off into the sunset. How does Spider-Man 1 end? He wins. He swings off into the sunset, but when he gets the girl, he turns her down. Why? Because he knows that the responsibility of being Spider-Man and putting her in danger is too great. So he pushes her away.
And the Amazing Spider-Man didn't learn.
No.
Hence a broken neck.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
but even in the broken neck, he didn't have the earned right to be Spider-Man. So Andrew Garfield, and again, it's hard with comic book movies because there's so much. But one of the many reasons that the Sony Andrew Garfield led Spider-Man movies fails because there wasn't an earned right to be Spider-Man. You know, and they kind of touched on it in the preview with the new Spider-Man movie coming out. He rips his mask off. We touched about it multiple times. He saves a kid. He rips his head off.
Mask.
His mask off.
Because the child doesn't die.
That's weird as fuck. He rips his mask off. You know, the Spider-Man that we read about, that we know about,
Spider-Man
wouldn't have done that, not only because of his own safety, but because I'm not going to endanger this kid because he knows who I am. In the new one, it blew off the minutia of being Spider-Man so quickly, it made it unbelievable to be Spider-Man. And I think in these new ones, that's one reason why I thought that Suicide Squad was the straw that broke the camel's back, because it blew away the minutia of what it meant to live in this universe as a superhero.
Well, let me just jump off the thing while we're on the topic of Spider-Man, because I'm very well versed in Spider-Man. What the other movies did was there was like you said, about the earned level of what it was. Being Spider-Man isn't all, bubblegum and roses. Mm-hmm. It's literally Spider-Man has a shit existence.
Mm-hmm.
The other movies did it right. They built properly. These movies, a lot like the new Star Wars movie. Okay, we'll use Star Wars for a quick example. If you're a fan of this channel, you clearly know we love Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is not a Mary Sue, but Rey is, because Luke Skywalker took fucking 3 movies and 6 real years to build into the Jedi that we wanted him to be. This Rey character literally accomplished everything Luke did in 6 years in 1 year. And people go, well, blah, blah, blah. No, shut the fuck up, people. She is a shitty, poorly written character. Luke comes from a fucking desert planet with no knowledge of the Force. By the end of the movie, is he a great Force user? No, he's not. They established that he's a great pilot. What does he accomplish in that movie? Well, he's transported to the Death Star. Han Solo protects him because Luke has never been in a firefight, but Luke can hold his own to a degree. He is literally carried through the first film. He fights with the Red Leader and all that shit to get through the Death Star. The thing is, though, 3 times in that movie they establish that Luke is a great pilot. Obi-Wan says it when he's like, I've learned you're quite a pilot yourself. Big says it, and I think somebody else says it too. My point is, though, yeah, he says it himself in the cantina.
Yes, he does.
My point is, though, in that movie, they establish Luke is a good pilot. He learns about the Force. He never uses a lightsaber in battle. He never uses the Force outside of, guiding a fucking missile, and it gets him thing. This character is given everything right away. And you talk about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. There is no... It's Andrew Garfield movies are just too angsty, and it's a very modern mentality of the audience doesn't have time to learn and feel with the character. They just throw everything at you, and the audience can't associate with it. With the other movies, even with movies in general from the past, characters have to earn the title or the respect or the skills that they need to identify themselves with.
Yes.
Casino Royale did that.
Yes.
I'm not saying Casino Royale is the best Bond movie, far from it. But if you have to tell a story of James Bond...
That's why it's one of the best
ones. It works. Now, I like personally when James Bond was mysterious and he just was there. Right. That's why I like Batman 89, because in Batman 89, he's just Batman. We don't go into him training and all this other stuff. But my point is, back to the Andrew Garfield thing, there was no build. The character just kind of happens. We go from point A to point C. There's no point B, and we're missing out, and there's no connection for the audience. And that hurts the film. Marvel movies still go from point A to B to C. Iron Man has evolved. He's been, 6... Okay, he's in 3 Iron Man movies, the 2 Avengers movies, Incredible Hulk, and now some new Spider-Man. So this is his 7th movie, I think, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man has grown as a character. If he went from the Iron Man in the first movie to the Iron Man we have now, it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Did you mention Civil War in there? Or are you counting
No,
Civil War
he
and the
didn't.
Avengers?
Okay, so Civil War, I didn't count that. So
eight.
8 movies. But it wouldn't make sense if he jumped from that to that. The DC movies, Batman goes from dark, I hate you because I watched people die in my city
To Martha.
Yeah, to Martha. And now he's a
We
Joker
have
character.
the same mother's name. So kind of.
Also, I would give one thing. Lois running in, coming into the fight, would probably stop someone who, with his sense of morality.
That's the bad
shoving
thing.
The spirit
That's the bad thing for me. So the Lois, going off of that, I think you brought up a very good point. I think that's one of the linchpins that people who are unfamiliar with the universe hang on to defend Batman vs Superman. And and feel free to obviously expand on this as I bring it up. One of the reasons why I shouldn't say hate. One of the reasons why I disliked it strongly, Batman vs Superman, was because Lois as a character, it's not important just because she's Superman's girl. She has a familiarity with the universe that he lives in. So she's seen him fight bad guys who could take over our planet. She's seen him fight bad guys who bring him close to the precipice of defeat. So for Batman vs Superman, one of the reasons why that movie was not very good, and one of the reasons why her running up at the very last minute to jump in and save him from Batman was because, not knowing anything as far as why he's fighting Batman, and for her to just follow it and run into and say, that's his mother's name, there's no
nice
build.
reveal.
There's, well, spoiler alert, fuck you if you haven't seen the movie yet. There's no real emotional build-up, outside of him kissing her in the tub, and she's, what you saw was bad, and that very lame, thrown-in Flashpoint moment. There's no real story-told reason why she would do that.
Dude, the Flashpoint shit,
It was bad.
That's the point where
exactly.
Because
that's a cheap ploy to get you interested.
Dan
instead
and I
of
went
building.
to see that movie Dan and I went to see it the first day at 6 o'clock. When the Flashpoint shit happened, I went, no.
Yes.
I read DC comics, I read Marvel comics. The comics of DC build to something. So does Marvel. This movie is trying to... Look, DC wants to take... Was it 2013 to 2000? So 4 years. They want to take in 4 years and give you what it took Marvel 8 years to
instead
do.
of putting in the work for it. And to go off of, you comparing Spider-Man's, comparing the Supermans, the reason why we like the Christopher Reeve Lois Lane more than Amy Adams is because, one, he watched her die. Even if we don't like it, there's an emotional reason why they're together. In Superman 2, they fall in love. She convinces him to give up being Superman. In this one,
she doesn't convince him. He willingly
Yes,
gives up his power.
but I'm saying
his identity.
right. That's what I'm saying. So her being, we see the emotional convincing there.
I get what you're saying. I just want the people.
There's an established relationship.
I just want the people in the comments to go, well, Dion, actually, if you watch Superman 2, said you're an asshole.
Right.
Because it's not about me correcting
Right.
you. It's about the people
No,
out
I hear
there
you.
that want to sit and give us a fucking paragraph while we're wrong.
As much as you love the relationship from the original movies, I still I fall back to the relationship. I hate to say it, but Smallville. That Lois Lane will always be my favorite interpretation on live action.
I've never
Because
seen it, so I can't.
She plays the part right. She calls him Smallville. She's relatable.
Yeah,
I think
so
that
did
one's
Margot
rough.
Kidder.
That one's rough because it's been.
In the comics, she was never a coffee drinking, smoking.
Yeah, but she was
Modern
a
woman of the 70s.
But she was a modern woman of the 40s and the 30s where she existed. You do have to have modern adaptations. Like, for as much as I like Spider-Man, you can't have 1962 Aunt May. You needed a 2002 Aunt May.
wasn't.
She may have been young in 1962.
Hey,
My
look,
point is,
I'm sorry to say, as much as I'm on the fence with the new Spider-Man, I love Aunt May.
yeah, but
She's fine as shit.
All she has to do is say, "My biological clock is ticking."
Thank you.
And I love it.
Well-
Tony comes in. Bounce down.
That's true. He is single now. But go on.
Do you think you don't give a fuck what kind of pants you were wearing?
No. But to go off the Smallville reference specifically, the reason why that one doesn't turn me on is because in Smallville, one reason it doesn't work is because it took 4 seasons.
True, to bring her in. And make
Even in the first season, it established Clark was in love with Lana Lang before the first. So then, 4 seasons, then he's already enamored with this Lois Lane out of nowhere. When we had 4 seasons,
No, they hated each other.
Right. So I'm saying, so that's why that Lois Lane is kind of weird because it's like that one's like you know that he's supposed to love her, but in the show we've had 4 or 5 seasons of him like Lana.
I can enjoy. I can't go back and watch Smallville and enjoy it because the entire first few many seasons was everybody's affected by kryptonite and they get superpowers. He's obsessed with Lana Lang, which I want to keep calling Fiona. This guy doesn't know.
Anyway, listen to kind of get back to Lonnie. What the fuck?
Lonnie Anderson?
Lois Lane.
To Loudie's question. Going
Lane.
off of all of that, I think in the bigger picture, Smallville's a part of it. DC is swimming in this syrupy pool of content that they have, and they don't know how to bring it all together. As opposed to Marvel came out of this strife of not owning all their properties, and they built a universe despite all that, and it all was connected, and it all made sense, and they worked and they found some people who worked very hard.
They can take D-list characters and make them A-list.
And make them fucking
Ant-Man.
crazy awesome.
They had an awesome formula right off the bat, and they basically ran down the field with that. DC said, okay, we can't go the same route or else we'll be accused of copying
Marvel.
well, copying the concept and the plot line. So we're going to go this route. It's not what people expect. Oh, is it not well received? Fuck it. We're going to double down. Oh,
Right.
Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
We're gonna fucking double
Yes.
down with that.
Yes.
We're going to make everything just
Over the top.
over the top.
Over the top.
So filled with CGI gray that you're shitting black.
Well, the thing that I brought up on someone recently in a comment section, Daredevil was comment section, right? Daredevil was essentially a failed property with 20th Century Fox and Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner, right? But Marvel Studios brought it back. Would you believe a similar character? Would you believe that the DC could bring back, say, the Shadow in the same manner? No, because there is this crazily thrown together hodgepodge of characters in the DCU in a crazy short amount of time, as opposed to Marvel, who cultivated this universe and then picked up Daredevil and said, you know what? This is how we're going to carefully put him into the universe. DC can't do that, and that's why they've damaged, mainly because of the timing, they've damaged the superhero genre in that they're the newest kid on the block and they have no idea what they're doing.
And I mean, just kind of off what you were saying about Batman vs Superman earlier, and I've said this in a previous episode, is that they spent all their goddamn money on the fucking fight. There's no, like, if you watch Batman vs Superman, there's very little, if any, fucking story connectivity to fucking story or plot. It's all, we're all just fucking real, and you have no idea what the fuck's going on. And the next thing you know, you got fucking not Apocalypse, what the fuck was his name? Darkseid. You got fucking Darkseid come out of nowhere, and it's like, we're gonna have this fight, but first Batman's gonna try and kill Superman. But wait, Batman doesn't kill people. Well, it's okay in this case. We're gonna just forget the fact that
Dude, they
Batman
can't even
fucking
get the
killed
characters' personalities right.
Exactly.
Superman's in the Capitol building. It goes up, and he just stands there.
Instead of being like,
are spreading out.
Right, instead of being like, who can I save? Who can I save? Who can I save?
Where the fire is spreading, he's like,
It is a perfect example of fucking no selling.
Yes.
Superman is not an emo bitch.
Well, now to kind of, and feel free, guys, to stop me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
One reason, fuck you. One reason. By the way, Joel and I are in a room together for the first time in years. So we're actually feeding off each other pretty heavily the last few hours, like fucking kids. But specifically, bringing up Batman vs Superman. Obviously, was based on The Dark Knight Returns, right? So, The Dark Knight Returns was kind of a story in of itself when it started, when Frank Miller wrote it. but it was successful because there was an established universe already that it drew upon. Batman and Superman had already had this history together. They'd saved the world. They existed amongst other heroes. They mentioned it throughout the comic book.
Exactly. See, the comic
Green
book,
Arrow even says, Green Arrow says, I never thought that you and two could exist. He says it was always going to be one of you. Whatever he says in the comic book, he go, to the effect of, it was never going to be both of you in the same place could exist.
Well, so that's the problem, that you've got it in the comic book. With the DCEU, everything's just fucking thrown in there with no goddamn backstory or fucking connectivity whatsoever.
Well, let's look at the writing. I hear you
Or
talking
lack
about
thereof.
fish. Or he walks in the teaser of the trailer.
Well, for Justice League, yeah.
For the Justice League, where he's talking to the people. There's a rumor of a man who comes at high tide. And everyone knows you're fucking Bruce Wayne.
Right.
And yet you're coming across in a feeling of like, okay, I'm here to put a team together. Well, if Aquaman shows up in your goddamn team, and you're not Superman, you're not Wonder Woman, you don't look like Cyborg, a little less melatonin, or whatever.
Yeah,
and
melatonin.
everyone's gonna fucking figure out you're Batman. So I'm gonna tell the whole fucking world. I've been keeping this secret since I fucking got back into Gotham from being trained by whoever else in the world trained me. But now I'm gonna be out in the open. Nothing makes sense in this writing of these movies.
And then they tell you, and as a fan, they go, well, if you don't understand it, you're not smart enough. How the fuck am I not smart enough to understand Batman v Superman? It was just a poorly constructed film.
Are always younger than me, and I'll say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're being spoon-fed and accepting it.
Not only that, but again, objectively speaking, going off of that point, one reason why it's damaged the genre, we all know that's Bruce Wayne. They've established in multiple movies, you can't go 1,000 miles without knowing the name Wayne. The Batman that we know, that we grew up with, even, you can specifically go to episodes in Justice League,
or the TV series Powerless.
He would just wait till Aquaman showed up, and then Batman would be there and say, "Hey, I'm Batman. I need you for something." He wouldn't show up as Bruce Wayne. He would be like, "Hey, I'm Batman. Blah 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 blah." He wouldn't just be like, "Hey, I'm in this bar as Bruce Wayne."
Arthur Curry as Aquaman would show up, do something to save somebody, and there he is, perched on something
to prove I am. This is why we're on the same team.
The world needs you.
This is why we're on the same team. I'm smart. I calculated where you would be. I'm fucking Batman.
I mean, what little we saw in the Batman Superman movie with Cyborg, all you saw was a black guy
on a wall,
almost lynched up, being tortured almost.
Mm-hmm.
And what his father did to save his ass? Shove a mother box up his ass? Because that's what basically happens in a sense. But it's like you're gonna, for the sake of this movie and the Justice League and all that stuff, is that you're going to take an unknown technology and fuse it to your son.
And not only that, but shame on fucking, outside of the movie itself, shame on fucking DC for trying to use that fucking small little bullshit part where, oh my god, I found these files on a fucking computer in Batman vs Superman to try and fucking link all these other side characters to fucking Justice
It's
League.
lazy.
It's very lazy.
It's like,
not only that, but to answer the question, why does Wonder Woman have an electronic file on all these other superheroes?
Don't worry about that. That's
No,
not part
she
of the
wants-
that's not important.
Yeah, because plot.
no, she wants the files. Lex Luthor has the files.
But again, what
Because
stops
Lex Luthor had
him?
these files before
So he's had them beforehand.
Yeah,
Exactly.
where did he get the intel to start studying these particular?
It would make
Yeah.
sense if Batman had him on his own.
Yes.
Because remember, Tower of Babel when he had files on that. But that's just another dumb thing. Like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Let's talk about this though. Bad casting in these movies.
Oh.
Man of Steel had some terrible casting. Had some great casting. I thought Diane Lane was a good Martha Kent. Even Henry Cavill's okay.
He
I like
was
General
okay.
Zod.
Lois Lane was horrible.
I won't say horrible. She was a good Lois Lane.
No, she couldn't win a fight against anybody.
Verbally too.
Huh?
Verbally too.
Yeah. Lois Lane is a army brat who, when push comes to shove, could put a soldier on his ass. She's tough. She doesn't. That's the thing. As much as they want to show in the movies and the comics that Superman needs him, but she needs Superman to save her, she doesn't. It's only when she puts herself over her head that he has to come
Like in the first movie, where she gets herself killed.
So she's a horrible pick for Lois Lane. Paul Kent. Oh my God.
Kevin Costner?
Oh, don't. I'd rather die than you save me or save those people. Like,
I don't even think that's his fault. That's just bad writing.
it's bad writing,
No, for sure. That's not how his dad
he
was.
should have argued the point as an actor. Like, is this actually the character that we're going with?
Right.
This is not someone who becomes Superman.
But you probably have
I'm his
you have
father.
Zack Snyder in the background giving you some bullshit example. Like
Well,
a lot of
Zack
these
Snyder
people,
used to take a bullet.
But the thing is,
maybe
a lot of
44 caliber, and put it to his head, and pull the
I
trigger.
was saying a lot of these people on the internet will defend Zack Snyder's decisions. Oh, you just don't understand the fucking
And he's going to
depth.
say people that are going to defend Bryan Singer for all his horrible mistakes at the X-Men.
Well, I don't think they're Bryan Singer mistakes that you have problems with. I think they're Brett Ratner
Yes.
and other directors post.
That's more
Tom Roth.
that's more Fox not waiting for him to do another movie,
Yeah.
as opposed to him making.
Because
the decision.
X3 is where the franchise shit the bed. You had X1, which was great, X2, which was even better. Then you had X3, which was
You had
bad.
the dude who made
You had
fucking
Wolverine
Rush
Origins,
Hour.
that was shitty. You had what was also shitty from the X universe? I don't like First Class. I think it's okay.
First Class was bad.
Okay.
And no one says, the fact that you have two Emma Frosts in the same universe
What
proves
about
that
a guy who's supposed to be able to adapt to anything, gets a little bomb put into his mouth, and he blows up and dies? He doesn't adapt.
And that's another problem Marvel or Fox Marvel has with these movies. They don't tell you who these characters are. You're shown these characters, and you're supposed to know them, and they're like, oh, this character's so important. Don't you understand the gravity of the situation when they die? No, because you never fucking introduced them or gave them a name. Same thing with DC. Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, goes into the fucking ship, and there's, what is this? Not Magog. Who's the villain they show that's going to be in the Justice League movie? You know who I'm talking about, right?
I
The
know.
gold guy.
Yes,
The one that
yeah.
works for under Darkseid.
Yes.
Steppenwolf.
Thank you.
Who in the basic
Who the
audience...
fuck is this character?
Yeah, but I'm saying,
If
who's
you don't know the new gods, you don't know this character.
Yeah, so people. Okay, look at like people on the web bloggers and people that should be listening to this podcast are going to go, "Oh, you don't know Steppenwolf, blah blah blah." Like, motherfucker, you don't know Steppenwolf. You Googled it, you read it on Wikipedia, you put it in an article to pass yourself off as an expert. No, let me tell you something. Dion, Joel, and I have a great grasp of how important certain characters are in comic books. If, you read an Avengers comic book from 20 years ago and you go, well, where's Maria Hill, blah, 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 she's so important. Well, she didn't exist back then. You need to get a grasp on how these things were presented and the actual importance of a character in the realm of said superhero genre. Like, for example, this new Spider-Man movie, they're putting the Shocker in it. The Shocker's okay, but the Shocker is not a big A-lister Spider-Man villain who can carry stories on his own, and they're not doing that in this new movie. But my point is, though, like, you people, you know a name, and you hold on to that little bit of information, and you try to pass yourself off as an expert, and you're actually doing yourself a discredit, and the genre, and the fucking just nerd culture in general discredit, because of your lack of information, and the fucking Warner Brothers tries to jump off of your just general excitement, and they produce crappy content. Steppenwolf. I've read hundreds and hundreds of DC comics. I know Darkseid, Granny Goodness, Big Barda, all those characters. They're just...
Gloria Scotford.
I was saying, I know all those people, though. I don't know who the fuck Steppenwolf is. I thought it was Magog, who was another character.
Who's actually a character they threw out the superpowers toy line.
Who, Magog or Steppenwolf?
Actually, both from back in the 90s.
Well, I'm just saying, but
When they introduced Cyborg into the Justice League for the first time, along with Firestorm.
Don't get me started on the Cyborg, because Cyborg is not that great of a character. He's okay, and he's good in the
Should be a Teen Titan character and stay there.
Look, I know this is not popular to say in 2017, but he is there to fill the black quota for the team. Green Lantern would be fine.
No, specifically, he's there because they fucked up Green Lantern.
Yeah.
That's why he's there. Obviously the black thing is an issue in comic books, an issue in all movies. Except Blade.
And Spawn.
But
Spawn
started it. Spawn started it.
Spawn was
If
awesome.
you
read a Spawn
Spawn,
comic
only
book and they don't
reaction
show
here.
his face,
Spawn
you never
sucks.
know.
You don't know.
Why didn't you like Spawn?
I do. I just want to see a reaction from
Shut up. You know I love Spawn, asshole.
So I like Spawn.
But to kind of go off of that,
This asshole, by the way.
that's another example of where DC is, right? So, Cyborg, you know him because of Teen Titans comic books.
Or the cartoon, if
the
you're a real
cartoon
fan.
specifically, the few animated movies. You cannot tell me, no one who's never watched these movies or cared about the movies or the animated movies can tell me he would be in this movie if Green Lantern was a success.
Honestly, and if they didn't need a black character.
And if they didn't need a black character.
Because it's really, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's a 4-quadrant thing. Young, old, men, women. And now they're like, well, we need to appeal to this demographic and this demographic. Look, Cyborg is a fucking vanilla, boring character. He's not really interesting. Hell, even
he could not be any other member of the Justice League. He couldn't be.
Even Jon Stewart's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, not until you get to Guy Gardner do you get to a Green Lantern with a lot of personality.
Yes, but when they brought after the Hal Jordan, no one was accepting him. Jon Stewart became real popular based off the cartoon Justice League. Mm-hmm. Guy Gardner, oh my god, to read the early stuff when they rebooted Justice League after the crises and his attitude, getting knocked out by Batman in one punch, and everybody was like, oh my god, I missed this, I could just fucking die right now. And then he hits his head and becomes this little pussy.
It was very heavy-handed.
Yeah, but it was very fun. But it was, and then they brought Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern, and then they brought Hal Jordan back. And I love Jeff Johns for this. He made Hal so relevant.
It's a great story arc.
Oh, without Hal, everything would have been lost. Only because it's always been stated. He is actually a stronger Lantern than even Sinestro, or else he never would have beaten Sinestro.
Right. That's why I started saying, especially in like Blackest Night, Green Hal Jordan is
Hal Jordan.
Shut up.
Hal Jordan here.
I've been drinking.
Prostitute.
I've been drinking.
Flash Gordon.
Hal Jordan is known as one of the greatest Green Lanterns of all time. Amongst the Lanterns, he's known that way because he's very specific, and the Justice WB isn't basing it like you said. You know, Jon Stewart was popularized in the comic books. But even then, because of the cartoon, he became popular, not because he was black, but because he was a guy who used to be, he was in the middle. He explained why a regular human, another dude, was given a ring, because he was very strategic, he was stubborn, he was very tactical.
Let's be honest, most of all, he's popular because he was on the cartoon. It's not about his character. It's that cartoon was widely watched because it built off of the Batman the Animated Series,
yes.
Superman. It built off of more successful shows, and he just happened to be there. That's why he's widely known as the Green Lantern. People go, well, Green Lantern's a black guy. No, it was Alan Scott first, if we want to go far back to the Golden Age.
Which they have tied the Starheart that Alan Scott gains the ring from was actually magic the Guardians of the Universe accumulated, trying to get rid of magic, and it into space, and it fell to Earth. So it's weird that Earth, first Green Lantern, is a byproduct of the Guardians' desire to rid the universe of magic and have anything to compete with science.
Well, I was just getting. First off, I didn't know that, so we'll talk about that later. Because now I learned something. But my point is, though, he's only popular because he's in the cartoon. He's not that interesting. None of the Green Lanterns are like.
He's not so stern.
But none of the Green Lanterns are like.
He works with Hawkgirl because she's a cop.
But again, even so, you know, he's stern. He's the stern one, the most stern amongst the rest of the Justice League.
Yeah. Well,
in the cartoon,
Batman.
But you're 100%.
But Batman's. You know, my parents died. He's because I became this guy, a soldier, a cop.
But dude, you're 100% right though about like the character aspect of him and shit like that. It's just, you know, and you're 100% right about the fact that he's not in the movie because the Ryan Reynolds movie was a flop. Like, that movie was so dumb.
Depressing.
Now that, to me, was DC's big... Okay, this is how I would have liked to book, if we'll use a wrestling term, book the DC universe. Because, okay, you have your Christopher Nolan Batman movies. They're huge hits, all three of them. Even if I don't like the third one as much, it's $1 billion film. It's a success, okay? I prefer Batman Begins. Perfect. Those Batman movies exist. Then you throw in Green Lantern. Then you bring in Man of Steel. Superman doesn't have to be the first, you know? You can have other things. You could have built the universe with a Christian Bale Batman, a Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, and then a Henry Cavill Superman, and you could have gone forward from that. And that way you would have an established foothold with the fucking Batman movies that everyone loves.
Now, so that is a Justice League I could get behind right there. If they actually would have done their due diligence and built off, the Dark Knight series, not fucked up that Green Lantern series, and maybe even have a better Man of Steel trilogy, maybe then we'd have a better.
And I like the word you use, trilogy, because I don't think Batman v Superman should have been the second appearance of Henry Cavill Superman. He needed 2 or 3 films. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, actually, I'm going to argue, you don't even need 2 or 3 films to establish him. Christopher Reeve was Superman in the first 5 minutes of his appearance in the costume. Literally, the second where he flies out and the pimp's like, "Hey, Jim, that's a bad outfit." He goes, "Thank you," and flies up. Character is established. He saves the day. In 10 minutes, they show him save the airplane. He rescues the cat, stops the criminal on the boat, stops the... But the thing is...
walking up the wall.
Yeah, but that movie, look, as hokey as people want to say it is and how old and dated it is, here's the thing. Back in the day, in older movies, up until recently, they built characters. They don't build characters anymore. They build you action scenes to sell you in a trailer to go see a movie, and they sell you merchandise. They don't build anything established. That's why, with the exception of John Wick, we haven't had a good action character in like 25 years. That's taking us back to 92. I can't think of a legitimate action character, not star, like actor. I'm talking character. McClane in 88. You didn't really have anybody in the 90s to, James Bond came back. But then in, was it 2013 or 2014, you had John Wick. Like the first time in like 25 years, realistically, that you had a new established character.
Right. And again, that's in part of the Marvel movies taking off. But, to going back to what we were saying, that proves why the Marvel's movies worked so well.
Because they're playing the long game.
They were playing the long game. Like, that's the perfect way. There was an established universe. We want to get to point B. This is what we're going to do for point A. We're going to build, these sub-points. Point A is going to be strong as fuck. And then we're going to point B. Marvel worked and got these guys together. They worked past fucking Edward Norton and fucking what's-his-nuts from Iron Man 1, Terrence Howard. They worked through all that shit to build a universe, and fucking DC threw these things together.
Yeah, on a fly. I mean, it's like real life, though. You have to build a strong foundation in anything you do. Okay, I draw. I didn't just start going like, hey, I'm going to do the computer shit. No, I built up the dumb shit, like the anatomy and this and that, and now I can put together a whole picture. DC never did that. They just said, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it looks like shit. Like I said, with Marvel, you have that brand trust. It's not brand awareness or brand recognition. It's brand trust. And I'm very skeptical, especially with Disney. I don't like Disney. I think they're lazy. They've ruined Star Wars. They're just live-action remakes are just a waste of time for me because, for example, Beauty and the Beast. I saw that movie 25 years ago in the theaters as a little kid. I know the story of Beauty and the Beast. What does Emma Watson's ass bring to the story? Nothing. It's just word for word live-action adaptation. That's lazy. I'm very critical of Disney, so don't think I'm sitting here going, oh, everything Disney does is great. But
no,
with the Marvel Studios and a guy like Kevin Feige, you need a Kevin Feige. You need someone that believes in the franchises. That would be like the equivalent of one of us getting the job. I'm not saying we know the movie biz, but what I'm saying is if somebody came to me and said, Jeff, you're going to take over for this guy, I know that I would have the same love and respect for the characters and the lore, and I would try to maintain that level of quality. DC doesn't have that. DC has Zack Snyder, who's a 13-year-old boy that's like, yo, bro, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And constantly, that's all you get. That's all you fucking get. Is
who has not read anything
he's gone on
of relevance.
He's the equivalent of a lot of people that are on the internet right now. He goes to Google, he types in cool Batman action, and he mimics that, and he has the keys to the kingdom, so he can mimic that. But he doesn't understand what makes these characters great or what makes these stories.
And I guarantee you, going back to my previous point, going back to our point of knowing the material, I can guarantee you, outside of Batman and Superman fighting in The Dark Knight Returns, I can guarantee he has no idea the first 75% of that comic.
Yeah,
he has no idea. He couldn't tell you what happened in the beginning of that comic. The beginning of The Dark Knight Returns leads to his fight with Superman. He's rebuilding himself as Batman. And in then Batman vs Superman, it was a quick, holy shit, a building broke. This dude that was paralyzed sent me this letter, and Oh, I'm gonna fight him. I'm just gonna fight him. I'm gonna fight him. Oh, he said my mom's name. Boom. We're friends now. There's no
Did we just become best
previous
friends?
establishment of why we're doing this thing.
Well, here's the thing. You have Superman, who is such a self-conscious, unconfident character in this movie that he's questioning. They're going to judge me. They're going to hate me. They're going to do this. Everything your parents are doing apparently didn't come across for you to have that strength of character and confidence. You have Batman, who's supposed to be one of the most intelligent people ever. Instead of, wait a minute, this guy's been here for all this time, and they come here and attack him, and people get killed, I'm going to blame him.
Right. He has this knee-jerk reaction. This knee-jerk reaction. Batman would never have a knee-jerk reaction.
He
and
might
even
have
Superman,
this trust,
right?
That she could play from the, finding out what does weaken you, what can happen, and keep that in reserve if you do go rogue. But he just goes off to kill him.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I think I think obviously we're all in agreement, obviously for being comic friends. But that's why it damaged it. There's this acceptance that these characters are just they're regular people. No, they're not regular people. That's why they're superheroes. They're the best of folks in that
The DC
look
characters
past
aren't everyday people. The Marvel people are.
I would say,
even
with
so,
the exception
even
of
so.
Batman being a billionaire, I'd say Batman's an everyday person, with the exception of all the fucking money he has.
But no,
The psychological damage puts him in a whole different category.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne is not stable. He is, I would say, insane.
It would work better if he was like
insanity is
legitimately
focused.
crazy. Yeah.
But I think so. Kind of growing off of that, one obviously we all love Batman. One of the reasons for me that I love Batman is that's why anything that brings in the Joker is very specific because you're as crazy as I am. You're just focused on this one thing. Like one thing why Final Crisis is so important because he is Batman and Darkseid is like this dude is a human, but he's so obsessed that we gotta copy what he does, how he thinks. Batman, he's the everyman, but he's the everyman that's realized he can be better. And in the DC universe, the movie universe, it's like, oh well, he's special, but he's not. There's no real world connection. You know what I mean? So even with the Nolan movies, it was a focus on his parents got killed. He went and trained with this ninja clan, and he came back, and his personal ideals separated him from these bad guys. In the new one, we don't see that journey. We just see him. I've been Batman. I lost somebody, and this alien dude is dangerous. Like there's no journey. There's nothing to establish why he feels this way. We see a clip of Jeffrey Dean Morgan getting shot in an alley, but there's no build-up.
Negan.
You're right.
Taking it like a
Lauren
champ.
Cohen. No. What was her name?
Maggie.
Maggie. That's the thing. Negan kills Glenn. Side note: Negan kills Glenn. He says, "Now that I killed your man, what are you gonna do? Are you single?" Next thing you know, they have Bruce Wayne.
Where'd all the money come from?
Don't worry about that. Where do the zombies go?
Hey, remember, when things happen, he will shut down that shit and get the money.
I've
No
never seen an
exceptions.
episode of Walking Down with
No
Him.
exceptions.
No, but you keep talking about these new movies. Zack Snyder single-handedly is the worst director to...
Of any superhero movie, I think. He is.
Yeah, because even the guys that directed, like, Ghost Rider 2, Spirit of Vengeance, which no one knows about,
Apparently, you never watched those 1970s Captain Americas.
those are TV movies. Those
I don't
don't
give a
count.
flying fuck. When the shield is transparent, fuck you.
Look, I'm not saying that
You're
those are
wearing
great
a
movies.
motorcycle helmet in action against Nazis, fuck you.
Look, they're
But
retarded, but they don't
Did
count.
they make Captain America break the Red Skull's neck? No. Fucking Zack Snyder saw that and was like,
Let's do it.
how can I make Superman human? He's not fucking human. That's what makes him Superman. His parents were regular people and they were like, hey, above all else, you do the right fucking thing. That's why in all the he's never killed Darkseid. He's never killed Mogul. He's never killed Brainiac.
Or both.
He's like, I'm gonna protect Earth. But
I need to shut it down right there.
yes,
After the crisis on Infinity Earths, John Byrne, Superman goes to an alternate universe. He encounters 3 Kryptonians: Nod, Ursula, I think, and Zod.
Mm-hmm.
They decimated Earth, killed Bruce Wayne, Hal Jordan, all of them. They're all dead. He traps them because he's immune to their kryptonite, exposes them, takes away their powers, and then brings out the green kryptonite and executes them because he cannot take the chance of them getting to.
but again, like I said,
It
established universe,
No,
established.
this is part of this. This was part of the established.
No. This is obviously pre 52, whatever. But again, Superman did that. Why? Because in that universe, this is going back to, there's an ignorance of the established universe. In that realm, for us as comic book readers, Superman has lived, for lack of realistic number crunching, for lack, he's had Batman and all these heroes as his friends for essentially 60 years. So they're all dead, and he comes to a world where every reasoning, every option's been exhausted, and he says, "I cannot let them get back." In these, stay with me. In these new movies,
nobody there ever became a superhero.
right? But again, his prior knowledge is of Bruce Wayne becomes Batman,
Right.
Diana becomes.
They're just.
So he knows their potential. All I'm saying is he has a prior knowledge.
Okay.
He knows there's an existing universe that he's a part of. In these movies, they're coming up from point zero, and they're making decisions as if they're that Superman.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So from WB's point of view, that Superman is living here without people like Loudy knowing any of that. You and I know that because he killed him, because we and that Superman know Zod is a crazy person who will decimate the Earth if he gets to this Earth. He will fucking kill everyone. That Superman knows that. In these movies, he just does it without any prior reasoning or experience.
No,
That's
fine. Jonathan Kent was a poor role model in that movie universe.
Yeah, but what about Superman being a bastion of hope? Remember.
Hey, look, they took that out of the movie.
No, but look, let's go back just a couple years ago. Okay, Superman's Inception.
You get what I'm saying?
What's the most
You get what I'm saying
iconic?
with that?
I'm saying, but Superman smiles. Every photo of Superman is
Right.
eyes closed, big smile. Christopher Reeve, iconic photo of him, he's smiling. Even Brandon Routh,
Yes.
who's not a good Superman, but not the bad Superman, smile.
I still enjoy
I
that.
say he's a good Superman.
My point is though,
right.
every Superman's a smiling character. Spider-Man underneath his mask is smiling. Superman's a happy character. He's not Batman. That's where I'm gonna bring it all back
Yeah.
again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the
Batman-
Dark Knight was a success, everything's trying to be dark and gritty, and it doesn't
Superman
fucking work.
is
They've ruined it.
Brucey half the time in the movie, or he's just plain face. Where unfortunately with Ben Affleck's Batman, he's got his mouth open as Batman half the time.
Now, question: Is Ben Affleck Batman as great as everyone says, or is he a good part in a bunch of shit, and he stands out because everything else around him is so terrible?
Good part and shit and everything's
Absolutely.
bad.
Thank you, Alan.
And again, to go off of that specifically, to go off of your point about that Superman going to that particular Earth with Zod, Batman Superman randomly has the Flashpoint. Obviously, Jeff and I have gone into this verbatim. We've gone in verbatim on the show in depth. It's so out of place. You don't know. No one knows that.
Yeah,
Flashpoint.
no
No one
one knows
knows
about
why
it.
is that. They just say, "Oh, Superman's bad." Holy shit! There's no build
There's
up
no
to that.
reference to why Superman
Exactly.
that way.
Exactly. You're
It's
just
not like it's not like they took and showed you scenes from the Injustice game.
Exactly.
where
Exactly.
Lois is murdered.
Yeah.
With baby by him because he's under an influence of Joker.
But even then, you don't know if that's the reason. We don't know for
He
the.
just shows up,
He just shows up and he goes to kill Batman.
which says, well, he's the fuck.
Yeah, and again, it shows Superman being weak without any reason.
And it murders 2 people.
Boom. We don't know why.
Because there's no fucking plot. There's no
Give me the money to go in, buy DC, cancel everything, and then fuck.
You don't want to cancel DC everything because right now DC Comics is doing everything right.
No, I'm talking about the DC
Warner Brothers?
As opposed to, as much as you guys might find flaws, I actually sit down and enjoy Arrow, Flash, and Legends.
It's not about not liking those characters. It's that all superhero TV shows seem small scale to me.
But even that,
I can't get into
I
it.
think to knock off of that, even if you bring up Arrow, now it's better because why? They did season 3 and it was fucking garbage because they brought in Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, with no prior understanding of the character. It's better now because they were like, hey, here's Ra's, here's the Green Arrow, it's a TV show. And the fans were like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm actually, seriously though, it's sad, is I'm actually having more fun watching Legends of Tomorrow. Watching the two actors that play Cold and Heatwave.
Captain Cold?
Yeah.
Oh, what's his face from Prison Break?
Yeah. The guy who plays
Wentworth
Heatwave,
Miller?
oh my
Yeah.
god. He's with the heroes, but he plays such a dick.
Look at Joel. If you still lived in Cincinnati, you and I would probably be watching those shows together.
One character in the show, the main person that brought them all together, Rick Hunter, the time traveler,
Yeah.
went rogue because he was brainwashed by the Legion of Doom. You know, Reverse Flash, Damien Dark, and Malcolm Merlin. They brainwashed him, rewrote his memory. They rescue him. The first thing Heatwave says to him says, I like you better when you were murdering people. And this guy's a hero with the group. It's like, what the fuck? He's just a plate. He drinks, he's always got a beer in his hand. You know, thank you guys. And he has the best lines in the whole show.
Well, but going off of that, there's even again, I as much as I love tearing them apart, your little
It's
comment,
a guilty pleasure watching.
but not that your comment right there, like you guys, there's a real world application to the characters in this DC universe, even with Suicide Squad, which is supposed to be, you know, we're scared of Superman. This is our response. Even those scared of Suicide Squad are so detached to what they should be. It's just so out of nowhere. You know, you have, you know, even Harley Quinn's supposed to be tortured by the Joker, and she's, you know, they don't play up to her comedic person in the movie, but they try to play with her doing the right thing. Like, no, she's a regular person who's been tortured to death. Like, what the fuck?
They really fucked her character.
They
up in
fucked her,
Suicide
you know.
Squad.
Well, see, it stems from the fucking the Joker character.
Yeah, but it also stems from the internet's lack of knowledge of the character because there's this meme that goes around, I don't blah blah blah, I just want a relationship like Joker and Harley. Joker beats her.
Joker beats her
And
uses
rapes her.
and she's a person of extreme Stockholm syndrome.
So I'm just saying, all these people out there think, oh, it's such a great romance, oh, it's this, it's that. No, it's literally the worst possible relationship you ever want to have.
I'll take the relationship up to a point of Jean Grey and Scott Summers because that bitch kept coming back from the dead. Up until he cheated on her ass with Emma Frost, who was psychically imposed.
Technically,
herself as
listen,
Jean Grey.
she was dead. He didn't cheat on her. The bitch was fucking dead. All I'm saying is, there is again, established universe. We know, as comic book fans, Harley Quinn is not in a loving relationship. The established universe shows he beats the fucking shit out of her. Batman's constantly trying to save
He
her.
throws her out of a
Joker.
fucking window, remember that
He,
time?
in the fucking again, that being kids and seeing adult themes, he tries to murder her, and Batman's trying to save Harley Quinn all the time. There's an established universe.
Do you think a lot of this thing... Okay, I know this is going to get real deep from the deep cuts. But do you think a lot of the reasons why these DC movies are presented the way they are is because they're trying to get a market of people who were raised a certain way with a lack of attention? I mean, let's really break it down for a second. We've all seen the Teen Titans cartoon. We've all seen Teen Titans Go, which is terrible. Have you noticed how modern day cartoons really don't have a plot or an underlying story? It's literally just little vignettes, short spasms of action, and there's no attention required. Like back in the day, you watch X-Men or Spider-Man. If you missed an episode during one of the story arcs, you go, "Oh my god,
what the fuck's going on?"
Yeah, like, oh wait, Bishop came back and Gambit was almost assassinated because they assumed he was the assassin from the future. Like, shit happened every week, and there was a fucking plot. And then old Beast is out of jail now. I wonder how that happened. Well, if you watched last week, it told you. There's no status quo changing events, and I think that's a problem. I know I'm sounding like I'm on my high horse, whatever. With any kind of media geared towards kids or younger people nowadays, it's all based on short attention spans, no long-term investment required. Like, it's just boom.
But see, you have a right to be on your high horse because everything today is literally a fucking gimmick. There's nothing out there that really feels genuine anymore. Everything's a fucking gimmick to get you out there to fucking spend your money on fucking stupid bullshit, and it's not there to it's not there to make you think. It's not there to be like, oh shit, what's going on? Like,
yeah, you should be living my life.
I should be living
Depressed?
my life.
No, I what you are talking about, it's double for me because it's double the distance in age.
No, I think that's a good point in that even from your generation to ours, Joel, there was a moment of panic, and they said, okay, well, they will watch this. In our generation, we grew up, so the people, WB, Fox specifically, and I'm getting specific with WB Kids, Fox Kids, Saturday morning cartoons. They established a multi-year storyline with a lot of cartoons and a lot of ways they wrote them, and they don't want to do that again because networks have changed, properties have changed, laws have changed, cable TV has changed. They want to try and quickly grab their attention. Hey, watch this. As opposed to when we were kids in the 90s, even the 70s and the 80s, you had to watch it over time. For us, it was the animated series of Batman, which led into Batman Beyond, and which was a part of the Justice League, which became Justice League Unlimited. It became this giant thing from '94 to 2002.
And not to beat a dead horse, when what? Oh no, Network had on there, Cartoon Network or Young Justice had 2 seasons and went away, replaced by Teen Titans Go. And another one that had a long building story arc, which never got completed, was Green Lantern. They got replaced by Beware of the Bat,
Which also got canceled.
which got canceled. It's like both of the 2 that got canceled initially were building stories that were going to keep going. You could watch coming into it in that episode and being entertained, but it was building something.
The mid 2000s, man. Like, in as much as I love Justice League Unlimited, that was the last series where it was based on 8, 9, 10 years of previous cartoons that all bled together. And now, especially with movies, they're trying to quickly grab your attention and say, hey, we're going to give you what you want in 2-3 years. And that's where Marvel's like, listen, that formula worked. We're gonna go from 2008 to 2012, from 2012 to 2018 with our huge payoff. They're doing the long game.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing. A lot of people don't have the attention span for the long game anymore, which is fucking sad. The long game is actually what gets you the fucking quality shit. Like with Marvel doing everything that they're doing with the Avengers and how pretty much each one got their own movie. Or
do they not have the attention, or do the studios think they don't? Because
studios think they don't. People have the attention span.
Look at, like you said, the Marvel movies. We're almost 10 years in. Mm-hmm. People are invested in the characters because of the long-term investment in
the King Kong movie's coming out. The monster movie's coming out. They've figured out, some studios see the formula works, taking the long game. Skull Island had the big reveal, spoiler, fuck you haven't seen the movie yet, has the fucking, they do the fucking Godzilla roar at the end of the movie. They show the goddamn small cave drawings of Rodan and King Gamora and fucking what's the Moth? Mothra. There's a long game with the new Tom Cruise Mummy movie coming out. They're gonna redo all these monsters. There's a long game. I think studios, to kind of touch on your point about action movies, they're trying to build up a fan base, and DC for some reason can't figure it out.
So that was our in-depth discussion on superheroes. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, well, we'll be back and we'll try harder. I promise. I promise to care. But if you really like World Class Bullshitters, make sure you head over to our Facebook page where we have uploaded tons of content of our trip to Florida. We went to WrestleMania, we went to Miami. It was a crazy, crazy trip. So if you're a fan of this channel and you like to see more of us, or you'd like to see us for the first time on video, make sure to head over to the Facebook page. As I said, we got tons of content coming your way here on YouTube and Podbean, so look for that in the coming weeks. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to help support this channel by heading over to incarnate-studios.com, picking up a t-shirt. We got ones with the podcast, we got Gay for Gosling, we got all kinds of stuff. It would take me more time to tell you about the shirts than it would for you to just type in incarnate-studios.com, don't forget the fucking hyphen, and go and check out the hundreds of shirts.